right. Cool. All right. So we're going to get underway here in just a moment, y'all. Okay. So welcome to the Cold to Sold workshop. Oh, okay. All right. Um, let's hop back over to the slides here for just a second, and I will be right with you, and we are going to get started. All right. Well, everybody, welcome to the Cold to Sold workshop. I'm your host, Jeff. What we're going to be doing is walking through the process I've developed over the last 15 years of being in marketing to turn strangers into ready to buy clients without having to do any like hard selling tactics or anything like that. Today on this training, we're going to be building your enrollment story live on the call. Okay. And so before we hop into it, I want to set a few expectations just so you kind of know what's coming throughout the call and you know what to expect. So first thing, it's like we are going to be actually building on the workshop today. I'm going to take you through the process where we just kind of have to grab a few building blocks from information you should already have. And then we'll talk through once we get it done, like how do we take those building blocks and put them into an actual enrollment story, and then where do you deploy it? And then at the end, I'll leave space for Q&A for anybody that has questions. So what you're going to leave with today on the call is a complete first draft of your enrollment story that creates demand with your buyers, and it gives them a clear next step on what to do. And we'll talk through how to actually put this out into the wild so you can get feedback on it to see how does it work to get attention and build demand with your ideal market. Okay. So I want you to be ready to actually do the work. So a pen and or a notebook, or if you like to do things on computer, make sure you just have your computer handy, Word document or whatever it is that you can take some notes. Try and find like a quiet, distraction-free place for roughly about 90 minutes to work through this because we are, like I said, we're going to be working on it. It's not just you passively listening. Because if you do that, you're not going to get much out of the training today. So I want you to actually be doing the work along with me as we go through the process. Okay. If you have questions, make sure to ask them in the chat box, and I will do my best to answer those as we're going. And if it's relevant to what we're talking about, I'll answer it then. Otherwise, I'll save it till the end, and we'll go over it at the end when we do Q&A. Cool. So I want to also address just kind of like the typical, elephant in the room type of thing for trainings and workshops and things like this, where I think we've all been there. You're really excited to show up to a training because you're like, oh, I can't wait to learn from this person. And then they maybe teach for like 10 minutes total for like the whole, 60 to 90 minutes. And then really the whole thing is just a pitch for whatever product they're selling. And then you kind of leave with nothing. And basically, it just a waste of time. What's different about this workshop is since this is a paid workshop, you paid to be here. We're building in real time, so I don't really have any sort of reason to hold anything back. Like this is literally what you paid for, so I'm delivering that version one of your enrollment story today. So by the time you leave, you will leave with a draft. And even if you never buy anything else from me, you never see me again, you will have the same process that you can go through over and over and over for this product or any other offer that you might have down the road to build your enrollment story to create demand with your audience. Okay, so again, this is going to be real work and you're going to leave with a real draft. I do, of course, have other offers. If you decide, hey, Jeff really seems to know what he's talking about, and I want to like work more with him, I have a program called Offer Evolution, which works you through or walks you through what we're talking about today, but just more in depth. It helps figure out, okay, what is the kind of like the sticking points of the enrollment story that you come up with, and we work one-on-one to figure those out in a group setting. So you'll have access to me, you'll have access to feedback, you'll have all of my 15 years of marketing experience, taking that to figure out what marketing strategy we should use to deploy this across your entire marketing ecosystem. So really, your marketing works to build an audience of people who actively want what you have. So if that sounds interesting, just go to jeffwinberg.com/OE call, and you can find a time on my calendar to find out if Offer Evolution is right for you. Okay, so with that said, I want to cover a little bit of context around like why I'm author or like I guess what's the word? I don't know why I'm able to teach this. Like I'd be like, what's my experience that allows me to teach this, all that kind of stuff. So for the last 15 years, I've been deep in the digital marketing space, helping online businesses grow and scale. A lot of companies I've worked with had many thousands of clients that use the software that we were working with. And so I would get to work with a lot of those people. I've seen behind the scenes of a lot of those, $1 million campaigns that you hear about on social media and things like that. I've gotten to work on those as part of either my positions at companies or with clients. And so I've been able to see what works and what doesn't and what scales and what is kind of like the sticking point for ones that don't. And I've really been able to take all of that data and show up today to give you what we're going to be covering. And just to, set some context, like I'm not talking about like no name brands. It's like I've gotten the opportunity to work with Dan Martell, Ezra Firestone, Shailene Johnson, Jeff Walker, Amy Porterfield, James Wedmore. I was a head of customer educator at Lead Pages. I was director of marketing for 6 years at Zipify Apps, director of marketing at Sales Message. And along that whole time, I worked with hundreds and hundreds of different types of businesses that were trying to figure out how to do what we're going to be talking about today. And we've really kind of taken all of that information and sort of put it into a format that makes it easy and repeatable for you. So what I kept seeing across the board for these big businesses that was working versus the businesses where it was like, why is that like, why are they struggling? Why is it not working? They're using the same funnels, the same ads, the same strategies and tactics. One is wildly successful, the other is just struggling to even make like $1,000 a month. And I got to looking at all of these different clients, my own projects even, and it was like, okay, let's look at all of the ones that are super successful. What are they doing? And it's like they're using this strategy, they're using this type of funnel, they're running these ads, they're doing, all the check boxes. And then I would look at the coaches that were struggling, and they were doing all of those same check boxes, but there was one thing I noticed that was different between the two. The businesses that were having those $1 million launches and just being that person in the market that everyone looked to, it was how they talked about their offer and how they talked to their audience so that they would connect with them. They were just doing something different than most other businesses were doing, and that's why they were able to succeed and scale and grow a large business. The businesses that were struggling, what I saw was they were constantly like changing tactics, constantly chasing new strategies, constantly switching things up, hoping that that would be the thing that unlocked their business. So, like as an example, they would go from a low ticket to a high ticket offer, or if they were high ticket, they'd go to a low ticket offer, or if they hadn't run ads before they started running ads, or if they were running ads, they stopped running ads, or maybe they were posting 8 times a day. Now let's go down to 3. What? Wait, let's now go up to 11 because I saw this one video that said you should do this, this, and this, and they're constantly doing new things. And another example, like, hey, we're currently not running webinars, so let's run webinars. Or hey, we're not using AI, let's use AI. Like, they're just always on the treadmill of trying to figure things out. But the businesses that were winning, they just kept the same strategies and tested different angles. So if they were running webinars, they kept running webinars. They just tested new titles. They tested new content within the webinar, and they didn't switch strategies. They kept the same strategy and kept working on it until they got things working and they got that signal. And then that's when they scaled. And that's when you start hearing about, oh man, they were an overnight success. Well, that's not really true. That one webinar or that one thing, yes, that is the thing that started working, but they've been working on it for years in some cases to get that thing to work. And then it finally started working and then it blew up. So that was what I was starting to see between the businesses that were struggling and the businesses that were winning was they got the signal and then they scaled it. They didn't just hop from thing to thing to thing to try and make it work. Because if you think about marketing like a machine, most people are tweaking the things in the middle, like in that strategy engine. They're always, kind of like, oh, let me fix my emails, let me fix my ads, let me fix my sales page, whatever it might be. And then they're hoping for a different result at the end because really, when you think about it, a marketing machine is you put something in the middle and it goes through the machine and or in the top you get goes through the machine and then you get some kind of output at the end. And what you want to think about is if you keep putting the same thing in, you're going to keep getting the same thing out. Yes, it might be mildly different if you change how it's processed in the middle, but it's still going to be mostly the same. So if you want to get a different result, you have to change the output. You got to use something that's different because the big issue is strategy isn't the bottleneck, but most people are spending most of their time there trying to fix the strategy, trying to fix the tactic. When if you just go back here and you put different messaging into your marketing machine, you're going to get a different result with the same strategy. Okay? That's what these people that were winning were doing, and that's what most people that are struggling in business miss is it's not the strategy. Yes, that can help, but if you have bad messaging that doesn't connect with your audience, it doesn't build demand, it doesn't like get your audience to say, "Oh my gosh, yes, this is me." You're never, no matter what strategy you use, ads, AI, webinars, low ticket, high ticket, whatever, it's not going to matter because it's built on crappy messaging. But if you dial in your messaging, on the other hand, just like those businesses we were talking about before have done, that's when any strategy will pretty much work because your messaging is so dialed in that it's going to connect with the audience. It's going to move them through the machine and they're going to buy because of the messaging that they're seeing at every step of the way. So, I really, if you get nothing else out of today's call, that's what I most want you to take is that messaging is the foundation of your marketing machine. Yet most people act like it's just something that you got to check off the list because it's not as fun and it's not as sexy as, using AI or building ads or funnels or whatever it is that you're doing these days to market your business. It's not as tangible. Whereas it's not as tangible, but it is something that is one of the biggest levers that you can move in your business. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today is dialing in that messaging so that it hits your audience in a way that they're just like they can't ignore it. Okay? So let's see, trying to get my slides to catch up. Okay, so what we're going to be doing today, as I mentioned, we're going to be creating a demand first enrollment story. And what an enrollment story really does is it just helps your prospect identify what you're talking about is for them. It connects with the reticular activating system, that thing in their subconscious mind that is looking for things that are already searching for it. And it's saying, hey, 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 like red flag, wake up, this is for you because we've been talking about this and we've been thinking about this. That's what we want to have our messaging do because that's what creates momentum and intent with your audience. It moves them forward. And at every step of the journey, we have one of these enrollment stories. So, kind of how I like to think of an enrollment story is anytime you need somebody to move from one step to another, that is an enrollment story. It could be a long one or it could be a short one, but you do need an enrollment story to enroll them, like buying into it in themselves, like enroll themselves into moving to the next step. That's why I call it an enrollment story. So, as an example, in your content, and you do have an enrollment story at the end of your content to try and get them to move over to your landing page. And on your landing page, maybe you have a VSL on that page, a video sales letter, where you're convincing people or telling them why they should book a call with you and your sales team. I'm not saying this is the only way to do it, but this is a very typical way. And then on that video sales letter, you go through all of the things that they're currently experiencing and figure out how to connect it with what their current experience is so that they hear that and they say, oh my gosh, yes, I would like to book a sales call. And then on the sales call, there's an enrollment story usually into some kind of offer, whether that's a program or like something that you're selling, like a physical good or whatever it might be. And really just think of it like anytime you need somebody to take an action, you need some kind of enrollment story. And that enrollment story could just be like a one sentence thing like click below to grab my AI prompts or comment the word prompts to get my AI prompts. That is an enrollment story in itself. It's tiny, but that is the thing that moves them to the next step. Okay, on a webinar, there is always usually a enrollment story to try and get people to either buy something or to book a call with you and your team. So anytime you need somebody to do something, you have to think through like how can I connect with where they're at and align with what they're already thinking. So what I want them to see aligns with what experiencing currently. That's the easiest way to do it versus using all kinds of weird persuasion techniques and stuff that don't always feel the greatest. Because here's the deal. Like when you have demand, you don't have to persuade people. You don't have to convince them. You don't have to overcome objections. I mean, I'm not saying like there are no objections, but it becomes way, way less. And it's more of like a logistical conversation when it comes time to pitch something or to buy something because they've already sold themselves that you actually have what they're looking for. And so that's what we want to have happen. We want to create that demand so they self-select without you having to do anything. And they say, oh my gosh, this is highly relevant to me. Oh my gosh, wow, this looks like it's the exact thing that I'm looking for. And they show up to those buying situations already pre-sold that you have the answer for them. When you do that, they're like you don't even have to use persuasion techniques. It's literally more just like show up, answer questions, answer any logistical things, and take their money. And most businesses that I work with need this because they're trying to convince people, they're trying to persuade them and do all these things, and it just creates so much friction and it creates such like weird feelings that usually those are like really hard clients to work with and hard customers to work with. They're usually super needy. They have high return rates. They, are the ones that really cost the most, both monetarily and emotionally. But on the flip side, when somebody else has already bought in, they've sold themselves on you. Those are the clients that don't balk at the price. They see the value and they're the easiest to work with and they do the work because they already understand that what you're teaching them is the solution they're looking for. They've already convinced themselves of it. You're not having to constantly do that. And so that's what I want to have happen with your enrollment story. So what we're going to be building is that enrollment story that creates demand before you ask for anything so people self-select, okay? So that's what I just kind of covered. And here's a couple rules before we actually get into writing this all out. I don't want you to summarize what your audience says. Most businesses that I work with, this is a problem that they always have before we start working through this process. When I ask them, like what are they struggling with and all of that kind of stuff, usually it's like they say stuff like you see on the right here. Well, our target audience struggles with time management and productivity issues. And I always have to say, okay, well, the let's say it's SMB or like I don't know, C-level executives who are trying to leave their corporate jobs and they're worried about losing their six-figure salary. Well, these CEOs and these C-level executives, they're not going to say like, "Man, I just wish somebody could help me with time management and productivity issues." They're going to say like, "I just feel like I'm drowning in tasks and I can't ever catch up no matter how late I stay at the office." Like we want those exact phrases that they are saying so that those words that they're using can connect you with other people who are already also experiencing that same stuff. We want to use their words for a higher good against them, so to speak. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that in a positive way because it allows them to say, oh, yeah, I actually have experienced that too. And when that happens, it creates this recognition. Whereas if you use your words as the expert or the somebody who knows what the root cause of the problem is, that just creates a weird distance because sometimes it'll connect, other times it'll be like, they'll say, that's not really what I'm struggling with. I just don't want to stay at the office so late. I don't really have time management and productivity issues. Even if they do, and you know that as the expert, they don't as the person going through that on their daily experience. Okay. Another rule is this is not like a one and done type thing. We're going to work through your first draft today, but what you have in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe even 4 weeks from now is going to be completely different than what you have after we're done on the workshop today. Like it's something that's constantly evolving. You need to get a version done, deploy it, get that feedback from your market, find out does it resonate, does it not, what part of it does, what part of it doesn't, and then refine it and then deploy it and then just literally keep on this cycle until you get one that works. That's what you have to do. As I was mentioning those businesses at the beginning of the call, that is what I saw them do. And that's what I've seen every successful business do in this process of trying to figure out how to get people to show up already bought in on their products and their offers and to create that demand in their audience. They just kept refining and deploying, refine, deploy, refine, deploy until it was like, oh, it's working. Yes. Okay, awesome. And sometimes it was stair steps. Like it worked a little better. They refined it, worked a little bit better, refined it, worked a little bit better until it was like hockey stick. We hit the needle on the head and bam, we're like crushing it right now. That's what I've always seen. And if you want the same type of results, even if it's not $1 million launch, if you just want to get to 10K, 20K, 30K per month, that's what we need to have happen. Okay. We need to have this all done and then be prepared to iterate and refine over time. Okay, the next version or the next thing is this, what we're crafting on the workshop today is the full version of your enrollment story. So I like to kind of think of this as like I don't know, the master version. If you had kind of like a source that you fed to AI as an example for a prompt, then AI takes it and uses it in all these different ways. This is almost like our enrollment story prompt that we're creating. We'll get this all down. We'll pull some building blocks in and then put it into a template I'll give you guys in a bit. And then we'll use that to cut it down for different things like content, ads, copy on your pages, VSL maybe, all of that kind of stuff. Maybe it's even just your value articulator statement that says what you do. Like we'll do like you can use all of this for so many different things without really losing the meaning of what it is that you're trying to communicate. Because at the end of the day, that's all we're really trying to do. So as I mentioned, we're going to mine all of your data that you have to find the building blocks we need. And then we're going to take all of that data and put it into my template. And then we're going to create that draft story. It's pretty much that easy, but this is based on quite a bit of time in the field of figuring out like, what are these people doing and how are they doing it and how are they kind of formatting it so that it checks all the boxes that, a buyer would need, okay? Because if at the end of the day, if you think about what messaging and marketing really is it's similar to a GPS. Like you can't go somewhere unless you know where you're starting and where you're trying to end to. Otherwise, you're just going to end up somewhere. So like if you're trying to get to New York from LA, you can't just go, oh, I don't know, I'll figure it out. I'm going to go east. If you go east, you're probably going to end up somewhere east, of course, on the East Coast, but it's probably not going to be New York because that's probably more like northeast. You got to go northeast from LA. But if you know where your current audience currently is, like where are they right now? What kind of pain do they have? What does their current reality look like? What are the situations they find themselves in? What are they saying the problems are? And then number two, what do they want? Where are they trying to get to? What is their dream state? Like what is this thing, the vision that they keep seeing in their head? Like what is that? And then we need to know what the starting point is and where they're trying to get to so that we can craft a story that shows them we know the path to get there. And when you can show somebody so clearly that you know exactly what to go through to get to where they want to go, they're going to recognize, okay, this person seems to know what they're talking about. Oh, okay, wow, they're showing me all of this stuff. Build trust and authority with that person so that they begin to start selling themselves and, oh, this person seems to really know what they're talking about. I should follow them. I should take their route. I should do what they say. And that's what we really want as experts, as coaches, as creators, as consultants. Like we know a lot of stuff and we're all very good at what we do. It's just sometimes we struggle to communicate that value to people who would be perfect for our offer and our business. And so that's what we need to do is we need more of this out there. We need more of you guys doing good work and making good money because I don't remember who said this, but more good people making good money can only be a good thing for the world, right? And my personal belief is if I see more people doing what they love, making good enough money to support themselves, what a ripple effect that would have. Like imagine when you make enough money and money is not your main struggle, how much different do you show up in the world? And then when you interact with somebody, that rubs off on them. And then that changes their state. And then they go rub off on somebody. And what a ripple. That's like what we want to create in the world. And so we need more of you, especially right now where things are just kind of bonkers out there. Okay. So the overview of what we're going to be kind of going through is we have all of these different sections. I believe there's eight of them, and we're going to stop at each one. We're going to like map out what they are, and then we're going to take all of those pieces and put it into a template. So the bulk of the work is actually just compiling all of this data that you already have, and then the easy part is once we have the data, just putting it into the format. Okay, so you'll see that here in just a minute. Okay, so before we get into that. I'm going to just take a quick pause, make sure everybody's doing good, answer any questions, and then we'll hop into the actual building of this. And I'm going to also just grab a quick drink. Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure everybody is taken care of. No questions yet. Okay, awesome. All right, let's hop back to the slides. Okay, sweet. So this is where the gold is at, okay? Like we are going to start into it. And I'm surprised at how often I work with a client and I ask this question and they're like, I don't actually know. So the first thing that we need to understand, so use a notebook or notepad, use your Google Drive, Google Docs, whatever. Just write all of this down in one spot where it's all together. Okay, so thinking about your ideal customer, your ideal client, the person that you most like working with, who is your offer for? Don't try and speak to, well, I can help men, I can help women, I can help like, blah, I can help everybody. We need to pick a specific person. And what I want to really have you shy away from is not picking a specific demographic. Like most people when they hear this, that's what they think of, like you got to niche down. Okay, well, I'm gonna serve women age 42 to 47 who are single moms and they have two kids and they drive a Toyota Camry and they it's like all of this stuff where it's like, yeah, that kind of helps, but it's not really like what we're after. We need to be focusing on a shared problem that all of these people have. So that way it opens up your demographics. It could be men, it could be women, it could be all of these different people, but they all share the same similar experience, the same problem. And that struggle is what connects them. It's not like the amount of money they make per year or their job title or stuff like that. Sometimes that can help, but it's not that's not the core focus. We want to figure out what's that one main group that has this one main problem. And then that's what we niche down on, okay? Because that specificity is what's going to allow us to like really, really get specific with their daily situation so that they see themselves in your messaging and in your story. Okay, so as an example, I mentioned this earlier. I just really like this example because it makes it clear. So, what we want to have, who this is for, it's not stuff like corporate executives who are burned out. It's like, okay, I guess that tells me something. It's C-level executives who are looking to leave their current corporate job and consult, but they're worried about losing their six-figure salary. So see how specific that is, and that's such a specific problem. So it's a specific person, excuse me, specific problem, but that could be any kind of person, really. The only kind of demographics we know are that they're a C-level executive and they're making at least six figures. Okay, so that's why we really need to dial in who this is for. Okay, and then once you have that, just write it down. And the thing to keep in mind with all of these, there's no right or wrong answers. Just get your best guess down, and we'll refine it. Because, like I said, this is just version one. You're gonna create so many different versions of this. It's not worth, analysis paralysis and not doing the work. Just write down your best guess, and we'll go from there. Okay. Number two, we need to know what's their current reality. Like, what is their life like right now? And I want you to focus on the tangible things. Like what are those things that they're just constantly like, let's say they're driving down the road and they're just like, oh man. Um, like a good one is like, I just am tired of struggling with money every week of my life. I just would love to have money taken care of so I have enough that I never have to like, just order the chicken on the menu because that's usually the cheapest option. Like we want to know what are those things that they're constantly thinking about. What really is getting in the way. It's starting to become like that thing that they're like just like, oh man. What does their reality look like? What does their day to day look like? What are the things that they're currently, experiencing regularly? And that could be emotionally, that could be physically, that could be whatever. We want to know what their life is like right now so we can understand what their current situation looks like. Okay. And again, as usual, specific as possible. So, not, well, they're overwhelmed. Everybody is overwhelmed with something. Everybody. It's not they're burned out. Most people are burned out, especially in the United States. So it's like, why are they overwhelmed? Why are they burned out? Oh, well, they're working like 80 hours a week. Well, why are they working 80 hours a week? You like keep asking why, and keep going down that rabbit hole because all of those answers are the ones that are really good for stuff like this. Okay. So you want to get as deep into this as possible. Okay, I'm gonna give you just a minute to work through that, and then we'll move to the next one. Okay, and don't forget if you have questions, put them in the chat box, and I will answer those as they come up. All right. Okay, y'all getting that? Okay, cool. All right, let me hop back over here. Okay, cool. Now we'll do about 15 more seconds and then we'll move on to the next one. Okay, next, we need to know, as we were talking about the GPS analogy earlier, we need to know where are they trying to get to? Like, what did they say they want? Now, this is really an important one because we need to know where they're trying to get to. And this is always one that when I'm working through this process with clients, like when I ask them what do they want, it's usually well, they want, like it's all filtered through them. And so I have to say, well, what do they say they want to clarify it? Like, I don't care what you as the expert, like neither I shouldn't say I don't care. I should say your audience doesn't care what you as the expert thinks they want. What do they know they want? That's what we need to put here. And we want to know, that vision that they see every day, like that they're working towards that even though they're in pain, they're going through it because they can see this end goal in their head. What is that? And if we can make it as specific as possible and tangible, that's always better than sort of like, oh, I just want to feel better, or I want to what's an example like I see this with like life coaches a lot, but like I want to like they want to live their best life, or they want to like be awakened to their inner spirit. Like stuff like where it's like I don't even know what that means. Now, the one caveat is if they are saying that stuff, that's okay. But if they don't say that stuff, then we can't use this cute and clever stuff. We want to just use their words because their words are what's going to resonate with everyone else that also is experiencing that and also wants that in the market. Okay. So this is things, like the destination. What do they say they want? I just want to wake up in the morning and feel completely rested. I want to hop out of bed and not be tired. I want to just have energy. Like I want to be excited for my days. Things like that where it's like those are pretty tangible, very specific. You can't really like misinterpret any of those. We just want to know what that end state is. So I'll give you about 30 more seconds to work through that one, and then we'll head to the next step. Okay. All right. Now about 10 seconds, and then we're going to move to the next one. And again, just do your best on these. There's no right or wrong answer. Okay. All right. Number four, what are their beliefs about their existing, like their current reality, the current things they're doing? What are the beliefs? If they're taking actions, like what beliefs are driving those actions? Because really, beliefs are driving certain things because they think like, oh, if I do this, that will get me this. Even if you as the expert know that's not true or know that that belief is causing the problem, they may not. So we just need to understand why they're doing what they're doing because what do they believe will get what that will get them? Like, what do they believe it will provide? So we want to really, we just need to get back to where your current audience is at and really like get in their heads because at the end of the day they believe what they're doing is going to get them to that end goal even if you as the expert know that it's absolutely won't, and in fact a lot of times those beliefs are what's driving their misery. It's keeping them stuck. They can't see it because they just don't know. So we need to write down what they believe in like in terms of like getting to their end goal. Like what are the beliefs they have? So as an example, if it like the CEO example, if they were trying to leave their corporate position, but they're afraid of losing their six-figure salary, one of the beliefs is probably like, I don't think I can like leave the corporate world and still make as much money as I do now. Or who would hire a consultant and still pay them six figures? Or let's see, what else might there be? Um, I just don't think anybody hires for this type of thing that I really want to do. Stuff like that, where it's like, what do they believe to be true, even if it is or isn't? Okay. Give you a minute to write those down. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, everybody got that? Okay, great. All right, let's move to the next one. So now we need to know what actions are they taking because of the beliefs that they have? Like, what are they currently doing to try and solve for the problem that they're running into? That's what we really need to understand is they are doing certain things because they think that's going to get them to their end goal. Whether it will or it won't, it doesn't even matter. We just need to know what they are so we can connect with them where they're at and show them that like, hey, what you're actually doing is causing these problems. And I'm going to show you how to do that here in just a minute, but really we need to understand what are those things that they're currently doing. So like we want to look at the tangible things because the the thinking behind it is if we can really kind of describe their situation, and usually that comes from describing the actions they're taking, that is what we can use to really connect with them. So as an example, this could be, you're scrolling on Instagram, like you had 2 hours yesterday, and instead of actually building something for your business, you scrolled on Instagram looking for that magic bullet, hoping that some creator, you would just happen upon it in the algorithm and it would unlock your entire business. And at the end of the 2 hours, you got done, you're no further along finding that magic bullet and you're no further along in moving your business forward. Now you feel, and we're going to get to this in like a second, but like now you feel like even worse off. You feel shame that you just wasted 2 hours and like your business is still failing. Stuff like that, where it's like, okay, so they were scrolling on Instagram looking for this magic bullet. If it's that C-level executive again, that could be you spend hours networking on LinkedIn, hoping that somebody will take pity on you and offer you a contracting role. I don't actually know, but like that's what we want to like as you as the expert should know your audience. And if you don't know any of the answers to these, the best thing you can do is have conversations with people in that market who are that ideal person you're looking for and ask them these questions. That is literally the best way to do it. And then literally take the words that they say and use those in your enrollment story. Okay? I'll give you about a minute to do this. All right. Okay. So write those down. There could be multiple of these too, like for all of these answers, and that's actually good. We want a lot of information to work with rather than just like one or two things. Okay, now, what are the symptoms they're experiencing because of the actions and the beliefs that they have? Like, what are those things that they're currently experiencing that, they feel every day that they don't get to their end goal? That's what we want to talk about as well is, and you're probably doing this and like this is, then this is happening, then this probably happens because you did that, and then this probably happens, and it just becomes this like downward spiral, right? Like that's what we want to be able to talk through. So what are the symptoms that they experience? Like what at the end of the day, like usually it comes back to costing them something. It could be time, money, or mental load, and those are the things that keep draining away. And because that's happening, like what is that doing to their mental state? What is that doing to their daily lives? All of that kind of stuff. And so for the CEO example, that could be I've you've probably like checked out on actually performing very well, and so you're constantly worried about getting fired and losing your six-figure salary anyway. It's like we want to describe that situation as deeply and as concretely as possible. Okay, so make the losses that they're experiencing, like what do those cost them? You know, if if they like the CEO, like let's say gets found out, what's that going to cost him? Well, he's going to lose his six-figure salary. He's probably going to like lose his reputation the in the market that he's in. Maybe would affect him getting future positions, stuff like that. Where it's just like we just want to know what are those symptoms that are caused because of the actions and the beliefs they have, the actions they take and the beliefs they have. Okay. Okay. So you got about a minute here, and then we'll move to the next one. Okay. All right. Okay, so now, as a result of the beliefs and the actions and the symptoms, what are the emotions that they're now feeling because of those experiences? Like, what are the things that are now affecting them on the daily because of all of that stuff? And it's like these are the like I'm constantly just bubbling below the surface. Like anything is going to set me off and I'm gonna explode and really regret it. Or maybe it's like the constant fear that I'm gonna be found out and then my six-figure salary is gonna go away anyway. Or maybe it's I'm just constantly feeling super duper stressed out about money because it's all I think about. It's like my whole life revolves around money now, and I never wanted it to be that way. And now I just feel worthless. I feel shame. I feel absolutely like crushed under the weight of this situation I'm in, and I don't know how to get out of it. So I really want you to write down like what are they feeling? And it's not like I'm annoyed or I'm burned out, I'm overwhelmed, I'm frustrated. It's like go deeper. Why are they frustrated? why do they feel shame? Like, what shame do they feel? And then what does that cause? Like, we want it to go deep. Like, visceral language is what we want to go for here because we want it to hit them in the gut when we use these things. Okay. And it says there on the slide, and that's a good one. Like, what's the emotional price that they're experiencing because of the situation they're in? Okay, we'll do about a minute here. And we got one more, and then we'll basically take all these and put it into the framework. Okay, pause here for a minute. Okay. Okay, cool. That should be about enough time there. All right, cool. Move that out of the way. Just grabbing something for one of our next steps here, and then get moving again. All right. And then the last step is like, what are they saying the problem is? Like, what are they really like kind of determining is the issue? It doesn't even matter if it's not actually true. It's just like that's what they believe to be true. And we want to use that so that we can connect to them. Like, what are they saying is the problem, is what we want to have down here. Like, who is the enemy they're blaming? Is it leads, traffic, the algorithm? Like we want to find that thing that they keep pointing at as like, oh, if I could just fix that thing, that's the reason. Um, so that just really helps us connect with where they're at. And it's just another data point we can use to show that we understand their situation. Okay, so I'll give you about a minute to look through that or write that down. Okay. All right, should have something there. And I hope you're starting to see that what we're pulling in is really just a way to connect with them and create demand. So before we actually fill in all of the template and things like that, I want you to just take a minute, make sure that you have all of these filled in. Don't overthink it. Just write something down because we're gonna excuse me, we're going to refine this. We're going to refine this again and again. So I mean, even if your answers aren't, something that resonates, you're going to get that feedback and you can always come back and change it. So don't overthink this. If you're stuck, just pick one audience that you really like working with and build everything for them. Yeah, like don't try and get things like super perfect. 70% done is 100% perfect. 100% perfect is failure. Something like that, right? That's one of my mentors has said that. And what you're gonna see is like if you don't have something to edit, you're always going to be just perfecting and perfecting, and then you're going to put it out and then have to edit it anyway. So you might as well create some momentum, get it out there, edit it, and then that's going to create the clarity you're looking for. Okay. Because action really creates that clarity that we need to get things moving. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take all of the data that we just collected and we're going to put it into the enrollment story template because that's what's really going to create that demand. The story is going to drive the narrative that gets them to say, oh, wow, that's exactly what I've been talking about. And yeah, I should pay attention. Okay. Um, so I don't know how this is going to work today because I'm on a couple different platforms. But what I'm going to do is we're going to work through deploying or putting this into the framework, and I'm probably going to need to stop sharing my slides for a minute, and let's see. Here we go. I'm gonna create a new one here, and we'll just work through it on a slide. Okay. So, if you're watching this after the fact and you don't have the template, just leave a comment on the video where you're watching this, or shoot a message to info@factmethod, FACTMETHOD.com, and we can get you hooked up. Okay. So I'm just grabbing the first part of it so we can put it in this doc and work on it. Okay. And then just make that a little bigger, a little bigger. There we go. So you can kind of see where we're going with this, but what I really want to call out is kind of how I look at this master version is this is almost like a video sales letter that would be hosted on a page somewhere, and there's maybe like a calendar to book a call or something underneath it. That's how I kind of am framing this master version. And then I'll show you how to take it and use parts of it after we get it done in content, in ads, and things like that. Um, but what we need to do is just kind of drop in the things that we know. So, okay, and it usually starts with who they are. And so I'm going to just make this for personal trainers. I have a client who was helping personal trainers, so I'm going to do it for that. And the problem that he was seeing was that the personal trainer was stuck on the gym floor, but they wanted to move online, but they like were really not able to because they didn't have time. They were kind of maxed out on how many clients they could already take and stuff like that. So this would be, are you a personal trainer who um, wants to have an online coaching business, but every day you're stuck on the gym floor, you're maxed out on the number of clients you can take, and you're already posting 3 times a day. And where did our little text box go? I'm just going to copy this again. Darn it, that didn't work either. All right, let me see. Reformat this here a little bit. You have no more bandwidth to add any more to your plate to make your business work. And then this is kind of like a secondary identifier or something like that, where what I would do is, and maybe you're already operating online and you're spending more time than you have available on building your online business, and something has to give. And I'm just using whisper flow there instead of you guys having to listen to me type. Okay. If you're like a lot of clients I talk to, so you could say clients, if you're like a lot of CEOs, if you're a lot of online business owners, whatever it might be, PTs I talk to, here's probably what's been happening. You've been posting 3 times a day because that's what everybody's saying that you need to do in the space, even though it's not returning any results. When somebody actually does respond, you white grip that conversation until they tell you that they're not interested because you burn them out too quick. And maybe you've even started cutting back at the gym, hoping having more time to work on your online business would help it grow quicker. But in fact, you're just losing money. Something like that. I'm just kind of making this up so you can kind of see how you put this all together. And here's the frustrating part. You're really good at what you do. You get very good client results, and perfect clients just don't seem to understand that you could really help them and you're not just another personal trainer. So then you try and over explain what you do so that they fully get the value that you're proposing. And all that does is get them, and all that does is freak them out and push them away. And that leaves you feeling, and then see, here's the emotions, completely empty, completely bummed out, and questioning whether you can actually do this online thing or not. Oh, yeah, I kind of actually filled those in already. Okay, and now we're going to move to the next step, where we're going to name the real problem and then kind of switch to the next part of this template. Okay. So here's what I found after working with over 100 PTs. Just posting and trying to randomly build your business hasn't worked, isn't an effort problem, comma. It's not a content problem, comma. It's not even a personality problem. And I'm filling this in because I know with my client, but essentially it would be It's because you don't have the back end systems in place to move somebody who comes in as a new prospect to a paying client without it requiring a ton of your effort and a ton of your attention. And because you don't have that in place, you're feeling burned out. You're feeling like you're doing all the right things, but nobody is actually buying. And then until that changes, this is that cycle that they're on. You're going to keep posting 3 times a day, keep maxing out your client list on the gym floor, keep feeling completely burned out and exhausted at the end of every day without having anything to show for you. And then the next day you start it over again. Okay, so you can see how we're starting to like just kind of paint that picture. And like A, in the first couple, we're showing like we understand, and then B, or like on this one, we're revealing what the reason or the root problem is. But we had to paint that picture first before they would be open to understanding that this is actually the problem. Okay. And then real quick, these are some parts I want to put in here. You don't have to use these, but they can help with like kind of credentials and that kind of stuff. So if you have a personal story where you were this person, like let's say you were a PT maxed out and you figured out how to make it work online, you could put that personal story in here. Or if you had like a client who went through this, you could kind of do that there. And to give you an example, like I had a client, Trav, who had just gone through this exact experience. He was really good at what he did. He's helped hundreds of clients on the gym floor lose over 1,000 pounds collectively. I don't even know, but and he wanted to so desperately to move online. And it wasn't until we figured out that he actually had everything going. It's just people coming in weren't getting connected with the right results at the end. And we fixed that with this back end system. And now he's fully transitioned online. See how that like shows like, okay, cool. Like I'm just backing up what I just said, the reason this problem is existing. Or you could say over X amount of years or helping X amount of clients um, get that specific result. I kept seeing this. And that's a lot of times the one I'll use, but if you are the person who's gone through the transformation, the personal story is always great. And so I could say over the last 10 years, I've worked with 110 different PTs. They were all really good at what they did. They just struggled online when they weren't in person, so they couldn't demonstrate their expertise. And what I kept seeing was they were just overwhelming people with information instead of taking what their prospective client was saying and giving them the dialed in solution. And so that's what led me to create, PT online. I'd come up with a better name, but you kind of understand, like, we're just kind of setting the stage for whatever our offer is. And then we introduce the full thing. I think there's enough room on this slide. I'll just paste this in. Should have had this ready beforehand. Um, okay. So you can see I'm just kind of filling in the blanks. PT Online is a 6, whatever your program is, group coaching program that on average helps people lose 10 pounds in 30 days without having to cut out their favorite foods or something like that. It's built specifically for PTs who are great at what they do, but they're maxed out on the amount of clients they can take on. Oh, yeah. But want to help more people. Okay. Inside PT Online, We help you install the systems you need to have in place to move somebody from a content watcher to a paying client, whether you have tech experience or not. And by the time we're done, you'll have a complete back-end system that generates clients consistently every week. Okay. And then you can kind of go to the after now of once they have once they have gotten the introduction, then we're gonna oops. Shoot. Okay, and here's what changes. So like for PTs who go through the program and install our systems, here's what changes. Instead of endlessly creating content that never converts, you'll create one piece of content that will generate clients every single day. Instead of you know, over explaining and talking endlessly, people will show up to your calls ready to buy. Instead of having to burn the midnight oil working on your online business because you're so maxed out at the on the gym floor, you'll have more time and space to run your business than ever before while helping more people than you ever have. You'll have more freedom, more money, and more enjoyment out of what you actually love to do. And you'll have, I don't know, what's another life outcome? You'll build true wealth and impact with your business. Okay. And then the closing vision, one sentence that paints their picture of their new reality. So, um, like, this is truly all you need if you want to stop hustling and stop just doing things that people say you should do and do the things that actually matter for your business and do it all while making really good money without burning yourself out and spending all your time on the gym floor. Okay. And then at the end, okay, let's copy this over. And so if that sounds like where you want to be, here's what I want you to do. Underneath this video, like again, so this is supposed to be like a video sales letter. Whoops, I don't want that to actually be on there. So this is supposed to be like a video sales letter that would be on a page. I'm just making it for this, but the call to action could be whatever. Um, Under this video, there's a link to my calendar. Book a time there that works for you so we can talk through whether your program, or I'm sorry, whether you and your coaching background is a fit for my PT online program. And if it is, we'll tell you what those next steps yeah, let's see. If it is a fit, I'll tell you what that looks like to enroll. And if it's not, I'll tell you like what I would recommend you do based on where you're currently at. So either way, you'll leave the call with more clarity than you came in with, period. So grab a time on my calendar and I'll see you on the call. Okay, so that is the process of taking all that data and putting it into a script that you could then just create a video. Like you could use AI, you could use an avatar, you could like literally just record it yourself and read it. But it literally takes you through that emotional arc of connecting where they're at in their point B with or I'm sorry, their point A with where they are at, and then connecting it with their point B of where they want to go and showing that you really understand their situation and how to get them there. And so that is the process that you need to take people through if you want to create an enrollment story that really like builds that demand and uh, gets people moving. Okay. So here's the thing. Like we have, okay, let's say you record it now. What do you do with it, right? Like this is not the final, like, yeah, let's spend tons of money on ads and all of that kind of stuff. What we need to do now is we need to test it to find out what is actually landing with the audience and what isn't, because we don't know unless we get it out there and figure out, hey, is what I say, is it resonating or is it not? So I'm going to give you a couple different ways that I like to do it. These are not by any means the only ways to do it. These are just a few that you could use right now. The number one way that I love to test this is with real conversations with people who are not even in your market. So like, let's just say you're in line at the grocery store and you start talking with somebody. Figure out a way to work that into a conversation. Usually that's like, what do you do? And then work it in. Because if somebody who isn't in your market can understand it, that's at least a good sign that it's simple and clear enough that your market will actually understand it. But it's like if they hear it and they're like, you can tell they're just like, huh? Or if it takes you like 10 minutes to explain it, or if you can tell that, it's just going over their head, that means you got to go back and rework it. But if they're like, oh, wow, yeah, totally, that's awesome. Or if they start, oh, wow, how do you do that? Or like, oh, interesting, like, tell me more. That's a good sign that you're creating something that's simple and easy enough for them to understand. And you're on your way to having a conversion or a demand first enrollment story. But it's like, if they're just like, then that is a sign that no, like there's still more work to do. And the reason I love testing it with people who aren't in my market is because that just tells me like if somebody who has no idea what I'm talking about understands it, and more importantly is like, oh wow, that means I've done my job and I've broken it down to a level that most people are going to be able to understand it on. Number two, the way I like to do it is a VSL because you can put it on a page and you can send traffic to it immediately, whether that's through ads, email, organic content, whatever it might be. You can send traffic somewhere and start getting people to resonate with it or not. And you'll be able to tell, like, is it working? Are people clicking through? Yes, it is. Or if they're not clicking through, no, they're not. But you'll be able to get instant feedback because you can send traffic there and just display your message to people. And you'll be able to tell if it's working by whether people are taking the next step or not. So that's one of my favorite ways to deploy an enrollment story to test it is either using it as an ad on social media itself or using an ad to push people to the full version of your enrollment story. And then finally, you can use parts of it in your content, in your ads, in your emails, in the copy on your pages, all of that kind of stuff. And how you do this is like we were talking about at the beginning of putting it into the template as just an example for your content. Are you a PT who's stuck on the gym floor? No matter what you do, you can't seem to break the code for scaling online. I'm going to show you three different strategies that will help you stop repelling perfect clients and start accelerating your path towards online and move you off the gym floor. See how I just kind of used that same thing, but just created it, like used it to, kind of hook them in at the beginning of the video. That's how you use it. Like it's literally just pieces of it that you now pull in wherever you're talking to this audience and trying to connect with them. Okay. And really, it's just as simple as like deploying some version of it, learning, coming back and being like, that didn't resonate. I need to fix this, put it out there again, come back, fix it, and just repeating that process. Okay. So what you should have now is a working first draft, clear audience language, that structure that you can come back to and keep repeating and optimizing, and then a story that you can deploy. Okay, so you have those things. Now, here's where we're currently at. You've got it's pretty clear. You can test it with like people in the grocery store line, all of that kind of stuff. But what we really need after that is we need to tighten clarity, remove the friction. We need to make sure it's validated with strangers who are in our market. And then if that isn't validated, like how do we fix it so that, okay, yeah, this part of it seemed to really like lose people. How do we fix that part of it so it hooks them back in? And then create that unified messaging across all your channels, all your marketing, so that anytime somebody comes in, they know what you as the expert do. That's actually what Offer Evolution is perfectly for. So if you don't mind, we've already gone through all of the content for today. So I'm just going to take a minute to tell you about what Offer Evolution does. So if you're interested in getting more help in this process and getting my specific help on feedback for your enrollment story or refinement and optimization or marketing strategies on how to deploy it, Offer Evolution is perfect for you. So I'm going to tell you about that, okay? I'm just going to, everybody cool with that? And take maybe like 2 minutes. Okay, awesome. So as I mentioned, Offer Evolution is the program built to do what we did today, but in a deeper level with me specifically helping you. It's a 30-day program where we'll craft this enrollment story, deploy it, get feedback so that you get your first client in 30 days, or we keep working with you until you do. This is a program that is built on 15 years of marketing experience so that you don't have to go out there and just test it and hope that it works and like keep going, through that process. You get feedback from me, and I function as kind of like a hole puncher in your stories and like, I don't think I would try this just based on what I've already seen work in these $1 million campaigns and things that I've gotten to work on. So it's clear messaging for audiences that have never heard of you so that they show up with money in their hands ready to buy. If something like that sounds like what you would like, if you're tired of just trying to figure it out on your own and you want somebody who's already been through the trenches to help you figure this out, go ahead and go to jeffwinberg.com/OE call. And that will bring you to a calendar on my calendar that will allow you to find a spot that works for you. And we can look through what your business is currently doing, where it's currently at, and find out if Offer Evolution can help. And if it can, cool. Like we'll show you what that looks like. And if it's not in the right spot, what we'll do is we'll tell you what, like I guess what I would say is like the next steps based on where you're currently at. I'll at least send you off with something that you can do to get to the point where Offer Evolution might be a good option for you. And so I also want to point out, if you see what I just did there, that's exactly what we were talking about in the enrollment story, is just creating that pitch at the end, which is like a CTA for something for the next step. So if you found value in today's call, go ahead and go to jeffwinberg.com/OE call, grab a time on my calendar. Can't wait to talk about your offer, your business, and where it's at. And at this point, if there's any other questions, we're going to move into Q&A and open it up for anybody who has questions or that needs any help. And just go ahead and put those questions into the question box and we'll go from there. Okay, and so I want to thank you all for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. I want to thank you all for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you and spending your time with me. I applaud you for doing the work. Like literally, this is the best value work you can do for your business, especially if it's not working as well as you want it to, is dialing in your enrollment story so that when people hear it, they actually want what you have to offer. So again, if you need anything from me, jeffwinberg.com/OE call. Otherwise, have a great day. Take care.